Shadow Treasurer Angus has criticised Prime Minister Anthony Albanese for prioritising confrontations with journalists over addressing Australia's persistent inflation challenges. During a press conference in Goulburn, NSW, Mr Taylor took aim at Mr Albanese's focus on political rivalries, particularly with opposition leader Peter Dutton, instead of tackling the economic pressures affecting Australians. The Australian Bureau of Statistics reported a 0.2% rise in the Consumer Price Index, CPI, for November, with a 2.3% increase over the past year. Mr Taylor challenged the government's economic management, arguing that the underlying causes of inflation remain unaddressed, preventing Australia from following other nations in reducing interest rates. The Prime Minister faced scrutiny over a tense exchange with a journalist regarding his election promise to lower power bills by $275. Instead of directly answering, Mr Albanese shifted attention to energy subsidies, which had previously contributed to reduced inflation in the September quarter. The journalist pressed for clarity, prompting Mr Albanese to respond, "You get to do the questions, and I get to do the answers. That's how it works." The timing of energy rebates also came under the spotlight, with households receiving fewer rebates in November compared to October, contributing to the inflation rise. Treasurer Jim Chalmers sought to reassure Australians, emphasising that headline inflation had stayed within the Reserve Bank's target range for 3 consecutive months. He noted inflation had been higher under the previous coalition government, but warned that economic progress would be at risk under coalition policies. Parliamentary tensions flared during question time, with the Prime Minister making an inappropriate remark towards Mr Taylor, using Tourette's syndrome as an insult. The comment drew visible shock from colleagues and was swiftly retracted, with Mr Albanese issuing multiple apologies. This follows another incident where the Prime Minister's joke about pronouns aimed at Peter Dutton was met with silence. Meanwhile, Liberal MP Tony Passon was ejected from question time after challenging Speaker Milton Dick's remarks on coalition heckling. His removal, following a heated exchange, highlights the increasing hostility within parliamentary debates. Efforts to pass a parliamentary motion commemorating the first anniversary of Hamas's October 7 attacks revealed deep political divisions. Labour's motion, calling for an end to violence and peace for Israelis, Palestinians, and Lebanese, was opposed by the coalition for being too broad. The Greens abstained, criticising the motion for failing to address alleged war crimes by the Israeli government. Independent MP Allegra Spender voiced frustration over the lack of unity, lamenting the inability of Parliament to present a united front. As the anniversary of the failed Voice to Parliament referendum approaches, constitutional lawyer Megan Davis criticised the government's decision to proceed with the vote despite polling indicating likely failure. Speaking from Harvard, she argued that delaying the referendum could have built support. Meanwhile, former Labour Senator Fatima Payman announced her new party, Australia's Voice, pledging to run candidates in the next election. Indigenous leaders expressed concerns over the party's name, accusing it of political appropriation. The Department of Parliamentary Services, DPS, faced renewed scrutiny following reports of a toxic workplace culture and suppression of dissent. The National Anti-Corruption Commission, NACC, recently conducted a raid on the department, further highlighting governance issues. DPS Secretary Rob Stefanik announced a leave of absence, leaving Deputy Secretary Jayla Hinchcliffe to act in his place. Transparency advocates have criticised the government's continued exemption of the DPS from Freedom of Information requests, a policy introduced by Mr Albanese during his tenure as a frontbencher. Thank you for tuning in to today's news update. For more stories shaping Australia, subscribe and stay informed. See you next time.